are now live. So happy, beautiful Tuesday. This is Dr. Burke Mays, Pathways Integrative Health. We're having one of our ongoing conversations I have every week. And our theme always is, and one of my commitments for 2023 is freedom. Areas of freedom are important to us. We have our health freedom, our emotional freedom, our time freedom, our geographic freedom, and our financial freedom. And I have my good friend, are you a doctor? I didn't even forget.
No, I'm a health coach.
Your tennis coach, but Benedicte Siva. She's calling me. We're connecting from Germany right now, so that's why it's an unusual time for us. And she's here talking to us today about a topic that is kind of frequently not talked about, but it's becoming, I think, more and more spoken about in our culture, which is pelvic organ prolapse. Many other names to it, but and I find in my practice, I think as a chiropractor, I see it, maybe I address it maybe in a really simple basic fashion, but for many different reasons I don't get deep into it. But somehow in the past probably 6 months, I think I'm meant to have these kind of conversations. I'm having more and more women patients start to bring it up. So Benedicte, why don't you tell me a little about who you are, where you are, how you got to where you are, and then tell us what you do, and we'll just ask questions as we go through and see where it goes.
Super. You give me half an hour now. So I am Benedicte. I'm a health coach, mom of three, 8, 6, and 4, living in Germany. So I'm French, living in Germany, married to an English man. So I always said when you are at the dinner table at home, it's very funny because if you have a little mouse, you will hear 3 languages. So we are mixing everything. So the kids speak German fluently, but they speak English with Papa, French with Mommy. So it's just lots of fun.
Wow, that's cool.
Exactly.
That's some amazing brains right there.
And how do I got there? So I'm a health coach actually since 4 years. And my health journey took me there without me really knowing it. So I was 20 years in corporate, being a sales and marketing director, at the end, flying all over Europe, being always on the road, very stressful life. And I got pregnant, I was 37. And I had a super healthy pregnancy, went super well, gave birth pretty easily. And couple of months down the road after becoming a mom, I was diagnosed with a bladder prolapse. And the story was that I went to my normal check, after pregnancy, you go to your gynecologist and he said, everything is normal, all good. And I was like, really? I feel something very strange down there, when I sit down. Actually, it was when I was doing sport or I was very tired in the evening. I was feeling like kind of a burn, like in between my legs, in my vagina area, or I was having the impression to sit on a ball. And it was always happening more or less when, more evening time and when I was doing sport. And then he looked at me and said, oh, yeah, you have a bladder prolapse. So I was pretty shocked because I was like, okay, if I didn't have asked the question, he would have not told me. And then I asked what I could do. And he said, nothing really you can do, maybe an operation, but don't do that now. Wait when you are 60. The operation only lasts like kind of 20 years. It will be bringing lots of backache. So do it as late as you can. And he left me there. Maybe not. It was in Italy. We were like moving quite a bit in Europe at the time. It was in Italy. I was, so I didn't have a lot of kind of a network support there. And I was a bit kind of, you can imagine, like shocked, ashamed, furious, lost, saying like, what is it? I have it for life. What can I do? And somehow I didn't believe really that I could do nothing. I was like, I'm sure I can do something. And this is where I started to tune in more into my body and into me. And I first really started with pelvic floor exercise and what I call functional movement. So I learned, and it was again in Italy. I didn't speak Italian very well. They don't speak English very well. So I was more going online and finding some platform to learn a lot. And I went down this road, like what I call functional movement, like really learning of my alignment, learning, I just said goodbye to all my high heels at the time. So about how I can, like make my pelvic floor aligned. And I would say I learn at each pregnancy, I learn more. Yeah. So because it's, I got pregnant twice after that. I got two babies, vaginal births each time. So, and the grade didn't go worse. So, yeah. So, and then you asked me how I went there. So anyway, so I was, and after, so I learned a lot, with my health because, so I did functional movement, and one of the big things which happened with me, I was feeling bloated every time after lunch and dinner. And I know, when you are pregnant, you lose lots of your core muscles. So I might have been bloated before, but might not have noticed it. But then I noticed it very much. And because I was bloated, I was feeling, so when you get bloated, you have more pressure in your stomach, and therefore all the organs come down. Yeah. So I was feeling my prolapse each time I was bloated. And this is where I started to tune it more in my body, saying, okay, how does it work? How does this whole thing work? And what can I do to avoid to be bloated? So I looked in my nutrition very much, make sure that I was not bloated, make sure that I was not constipated, because it is the same. If you create pressure because of constipation, there is more pressure, so that you feel, I was feeling more the symptoms. So I went down this rabbit hole of nutrition and functional movement. And then after my third pregnancy, I just couldn't do the job I was doing, because 3 kids traveling all over Europe all the time was just impossible. And I wanted to reorient myself. And I would have not even think 1 second that I will become a health coach. But, kind of looking into that, making some coaching and self-development, I actually went down this road, and I just love it now, just to help women like me with pelvic organ prolapse to just integrate lifestyle changes in their life to feel better, actually, to feel stronger and confident in their body every day and feel less symptomatic. So it's how actually I'm here as a health coach today. Yeah.
Cool. And most good health coaches have some sort of journey like that. They've had to coach themselves first. It's probably the area that I probably struggle with the most as a practitioner is I've lived a charmed life, I think, because I've always made healthy choices, that I don't have that experience of what do I do? It's for me, it's very academic. You're living it been living it every day. I'm curious, it seems in my circles, or what I hear, it's like something that it wasn't talked about for a long time, and now more and more women are hearing about it, talking about it. Is there a shift in culture acknowledging this area of women's health?
I think so. I think so, definitely. I mean, when it happened to me, I was just shocked, because I was like, I've never heard about it. I have 3 sisters, 1 mother, and 2 of my sister had a child before. I mean, they don't have prolapse, none of them. But I was just shocked to just say, like, what's going on? Why is nobody talking about it? And especially because when I realized I was not alone, they were like, millions, thousands of women having it. At the end, the number are 1 or 2 women who have it at some point in their life. Yeah. So this is, not everybody is symptomatic, but this is very, very common. And so I was very shocked. So I think also, and for me, it's 8 years down the road. And I feel also that now it's even more spoken about. And I would maybe say, compare it to breast cancer and everything, like, 20 years down the road, nobody was talking about it. Now it's a very normal thing to talk about it. And maybe pelvic floor health will be the same, in 10 years' time. I hope so.
Yeah, hopefully, because from what I gather, just looking at it from the outside, the impacts can be profound, About those areas of freedom, it can affect, easily all of them.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, it's an important point, like when you have, when you have prolapse, it can, I have so many women around me which are just feeling so disabled, because you will be, we went for a walk in the zoo 2 days ago, and this is you really think about it, you say, am I symptomatic today? Am I not? I mean, some people are symptomatic all the time. Can I walk so long? Is it okay? Of course, there is lots of things we can do and some help with tools we can use, but it can be very, very, so difficult doing for a normal daily life, actually.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned, I tend to think fairly linearly, then go at three-dimensional.
Yeah.
So you have a person. I see kind of two pathways to pursue a bit. There's women who might have it, but they're not symptomatic yet, which is, in my world, the best place to quote unquote intervene would before
Yeah.
you go that far down. What would somebody who's not symptomatic, what would they be looking for? Is it starting?
So I would say always make sure you are not constipated. With prolapse, you need to do two things: manage the pressure from the inside of your body,
Mm-hmm.
and manage the support outside. So it's just like this. You need to really manage that. And I would say very much make sure you are not constipated. So, I'm like teaching my girls and my boy as well, because it can also happen to men, less, but it can also happen.
Yep.
But to never strain on the toilet. I said, if it doesn't want to come out, it will not come out. Don't push. And we have a Scotty potty at home. So
Okay.
I teach them that. So from the beginning, so for older women like me, like moms and older women, like make sure you are not constipated. You go to the toilet once a day, but make sure you eat enough. You eat properly to not be constipated.
Okay.
So this is one thing, exactly. And then there is like very things that I'm still doing because I've did it all my life when I was young. Don't suck your tummy. So now I know that. I just like all the time remind myself, let go, so really let your tummy go, because again, by sucking your tummy in, you create pressure. Yeah.
Interesting.
What you can do as well is make sure breathing is a great one for women with prolapse as well. So when you have it, to really again stop the pressure. So make sure you really breathe from the diaphragm and from really overall, in order to just create more space.
Okay.
You need to create more space for your organs and everything. And another thing would be, again, this could be a prevention as well, but also when you have it is like, make sure your pelvic area is very relaxed. Because sometimes people with prolapse have a hypertonic pelvic floor.
Okay.
So it's really, actually, so it's super, super tense. And therefore, there is a super visual, imagine like a balloon inside of, this is your pelvic, and then you have a balloon. The balloon will come out here because there is not enough space. But if I am more relaxed, there is more space for the balloon to, even you imagine the organ, if I have a really tight pelvis, then it will just be like putting everything under pressure, where if I have more space, everything will have more space. And this is something I had to learn to really relax, actually, because you tend to also, I already shifted to, if you have it, I always tend to hold everything in, to say, oh my God, if it's fall out, so then therefore you are really stressed and you try to hold everything in. And actually, this is counterproductive. You need to relax. So going back to the person who doesn't have it or have it but not symptomatic, really like constipation is a big one. Don't suck your tummy. Breathe properly. And another one is if you do heavy lifting, be careful. Or again, gravity sport, like running,
Yep.
jumping, and heavy lifting. Heavy lifting will put extremely, I mean, you can do it. I'm not saying you can't, but you have to know what you are doing. You need really to then engage your pelvic floor each time properly to look after it, to really care, care for it. Yeah. So heavy lifting is be very careful with heavy lifting, and yes, like jumping and running and all these things.
So it's something I'd like to kind of unravel just a little bit. So I'm just thinking what you create makes perfect sense. And I'm trying to relate to, like, if I'm working with somebody where they're having back pain or they're having, a chronically unstable pelvis, and I'm working with them to engage their musculature to, in my mind, it's like, protect the area. But I'm wondering how clinically how to apply that without making another area worse, other than maybe I'm just teaching the awareness of the area. But that kind of goes, it makes sense, but it goes totally against all of the exercise trends, flat tummy, strengthen your core, and all of that.
I mean, I just, while you were saying that, I was saying, of course, you need to strengthen your core as well. Okay. Mm-hmm. But it is also, again, some very specific exercise. I mean, I think this is more and more explained, like the crunches are terrible for a woman postpartum. I mean, I hope
crunches are just bad, period.
Yeah, okay. No, and I hope now people knows. I hope now this is like why that the information is really out there, because this is what you said, like the gym and push and do crunches. And I mean, how many crunches did I do before I really knew? So and it's why there is like I also do strength exercise for my core. So I do Pilates. I do so this is super important as well. But there is this. It's like in life, like everything, like duality of everything. It's like, there is white and black, but, you need both. You need strength, but you need also relaxation. Mm-hmm. And this is, for me, it was a big one. Yeah. So I think, I mean, by teaching them to strengthen this area, it's great awareness, but they also need to, I mean, it's all about connecting to your body and also feeling. I mean, people should really connect to their body and feel, does it feel right or does it not feel right? And if you teach them to strengthen their core and they are feeling better, fantastic. But if they are still feeling symptomatic, then they should come back and say, Dr. Berg, what's going on? And then look into, okay, maybe they have an hypertonic pelvis, for example. Because we learn so much about Kegel, like do your Kegel. No. And this is for pelvic organ prolapse is just like a super small part of the picture. It really has to be really the core.
Yes, you touched on something I've noticed working with patients. Like I have a series of exercises I teach for postural strengthening, and all relies on breathing and rocking the pelvis. And I'm always amazed at how many people just are not aware of themselves from the belly button to their knees. Like they just have zero awareness, and there can be many deep rabbit holes to go down about that. But I definitely see where people just are not connected.
Yeah.
It's
I relate a lot. I mean, because after my first pregnancy, I mean, you need to anyway, like lots is going on after during the pregnancy with the pelvic floor. So after, you need to reconnect to your pelvic floor and to all the, I would say, trauma, like physical trauma of a birth, and your brain needs to really reconnect to that. But to be honest, I was never connected to my pelvic floor before, never. So I didn't know what it was. And I remember I spent like 10 sessions with, I think it was a yoga teacher at the time. We need to really like start to feel it. And after, exactly. So it's why also for me, it was definitely not toned and not strengthened. So was probably also a reason why I got a prolapse. But yeah, so we are not connected, definitely not.
I asked a question earlier and it went on very great answer, but there was a part I was looking for that I didn't hear was you say you're a woman and you're not symptomatic yet, but you it's developed. What would they be looking for to say, oh, I do have this, but it's not symptomatic? Like what could a woman look at and go, yep, I got this. Oh, I better take care of this. Is there any signs before they get symptomatic?
No, I
No.
don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's either you are not symptomatic or you are, or you are like me. I would have days which are now asymptomatic and days which are symptomatic.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you would say, let's maybe go back to the grade, So in a pelvic organ prolapse, I mean, this is when an organ is going, is moving from the pelvis area into the vagina. So, and there is different grades. So there is 0 to 4, and there is 0 is like no movement, so you are fine. 1 is just a little bit down, but you will not feel it. And then from 2 to 3, you start to probably be symptomatic. And then 4, it's looking out. So your
Gotcha.
organs are out. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and no, and actually this is not true. You can be 2 and 3 and not be symptomatic, because there is a big discussion as well in our community, like somehow we all try to want to reduce our grade, to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it is it the end goal, or is it the end goal to be asymptomatic? Because there is always a question, can we make it better?
Yeah.
Can we reverse a prolapse? And some said kind of no. There is very few how do you call it, like super story about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody which I mean, there is, of course, and I think, I mean, I might be one soon. I just wait a little bit. I tell you another things what I'm doing now to try, but yeah. So it's all the question, do you want to be? Is it more important to be asymptomatic or to reduce your grade? So you can be actually grade 2 and 3 and be asymptomatic, I think. Yeah. Where for me, I am grade 2 and 3. I was grade 2 after the birth of the 3rd child, and it went worse after my 3rd one. And I think it's a pity. I could probably have avoided. So imagine I was 3 kids and they were 4, 2, and 0. So therefore, you have a lot of lifting with the kids,
Mm-hmm.
because, of course, we are told, don't lift your kid, but come on, real life, real people, real babies. You have to hold them, and sometimes even 2, because when he's jealous or whatever happened, or they're all crying, and and we were moving at the time. And I think it's when, after the movie, it went really bad. So it's when I went to see a urologist, and he said to me, I am on grade 2, 3 now. And he gave me a pessary, which is a little device, plastic, plastic device. I have a cube, you can have a ring that you can put inside of the vagina, and then it's actually lift the organ and help to support. And this is amazing. I mean, this is very cool. And if I would have had that earlier, I think maybe, we don't know, but it's also okay. I mean, doesn't matter. But yeah, so I don't remember your question.
You answered it. You got it covered. The question I had was, if somebody is, they've had kids, they're not symptomatic, how would they know if they have one? And you covered it. You don't. You just.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of also, it's like feel, I mean, the symptoms are very easy. Is you feel some heaviness in the vagina. You feel like you sit on a ball, and there is different prolapse. There is kind of 5. There is the bladder prolapse, the uterus prolapse. There is small intestine, rectal, and another one. So there is different one. I have bladder and uterus now. But there is also what they call the rectoral, which is in the rectum, kind of going into, I mean, you know better than me. Mm-hmm. There is a vagina in the middle, and then we have our organs sitting all kind of around, and this
All
is when
around,
they push into the wall. So this was also each of the organ could push through the wall of the vagina. So I just have, I mean, some people have more than one. So some people have 1, 2, 3, it depends. So it can be really bad.
Mm-hmm.
But so it's just feeling some, I would say, if you don't feel normal, you shouldn't have pain.
Yeah.
It shouldn't feel unnormal. So if you feel heaviness, if you feel pain, just get it checked, definitely.
Yeah, it occurs to me too. A lot of women will have to advocate for themselves because so many professionals don't know, don't recognize, don't understand, don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, and it's exactly like when I did ask my doctor. I said something is wrong. I mean, something or something doesn't feel right, and I don't know why he would have not tell me, because maybe I think this is also a discussion we have in the community a lot, is because some of the grades are not symptomatic, or maybe they don't really see it, or maybe they don't want to scare the woman, or maybe they said, you cannot do anything about it, because I was told for the first doctor I cannot do anything about it, and the second one, after the second birth, it went even worse. I think he said you cannot do anything about it. And I looked at him and I was like, okay, I know, thank you very much. And he looked at me just before I closed the door and he said, if a pelvic floor therapist is telling you he can solve it or help you, he's lying. And I was like, okay, thank you very much. But because yes, there is so much more out there that we can do. And I took the position saying, let me try what I can do myself. And if everything I try don't work, and if it's really, really, really go bad, I'm not saying I will never get operated, but I am going to try everything in my power before I go under the knife, definitely.
Yeah. Well, and from what I gather, the surgery outcomes are not real good. I mean, my wife is a tech writer, and she was working on contract with one of the local medical device companies, and they were doing the mesh installs, and she's like, this thing doesn't work. And it's like, I never want to go down that road.
And exactly. So prevention is super important as well.
Yeah. So what you do with your health coaching, so in a sense, what you're really working on is just overall wellness with a focus on, shall we say, awareness, belly button to knees, and kind of go from there. Is that a fair encapsulation?
Yeah, exactly. Because I think, we are told, I mean, if we are told there is nothing we can do, maybe we are told pelvic floor exercise is good. And this is definitely a must when we have a prolapse, to do pelvic floor exercise every day for the rest of our life. And it's not always easy. But what I'm doing is I'm saying it's actually much more than that. I took the holistic approach with myself, and it worked really much, because I realized that stress is impacting my pelvic floor. Sleep is impacting my pelvic floor. Nutrition is impacting my pelvic floor. My mindset is impacting my pelvic floor, because when you think all the time, when you feel all the time a sensation, your brain starts to just register it as this is normal, So you kind of sometimes maybe are less symptomatic, but still feel it, So there is lots to do with neuroplasticity, like your mindset, your brain, being positive, working into your nutrition, and your sleep, because again, you regenerate with your sleep. And I noticed also, as soon as I was as a mom with young kids, I was really sleep deprived for a long time, but it impact my pelvic floor. So I was also making sure, at least if this impact my pelvic floor, the rest shouldn't, So I worked really on everything. And especially, so there is like this part of the health knowledge and education, but also as a health coach, I really help the people to make lifestyle changes.
Yeah.
Because this is the hardest one, we know, I think all the information is out there. So if somebody wants to have it, we can reach to information, but this is how do we really implement in our life.
Yeah.
So I am there to support, guide, and kick a little bit when it needs to be.
You are a health coach, not a problem coach.
Yeah.
I just got that as you're talking. It's like, wow, yeah, so many people that want us to help fix their problem. It's like, no, your problem is not where your problems are. Your problems where they all ended up. And
yeah, exactly. And lifestyle changes. I mean, it's a big one, and I've made so many lifestyle changes, and I've never been healthier than now. So it's really cool.
so if you could give a listener here, if they've been on with us and have been patient for the past 30 minutes or so, what would I think I know what they are, but I'll let you create them. What would be your top 3 takeaways, tips, hacks, whatever it would be for pelvic floor wellness? I'm going to let me ask another question first, but just kind of encapsulate. What are the symptoms people would notice if they're having it, and then what are 3 tips? So kind of the summary of things.
Yeah. So when you have a pelvic organ prolapse, you feel somehow heaviness in your vagina, down there. So for me, it was. Also, you have the impression that your tampon is not really in. So this is exactly the sensation. It's like a tampon is not really in. So you kind of feel something is like heavy there. Or for me, it was really like when I was sitting at impression to sit on a ball. Yeah. So this will be that, and pain as well. It's not normal. Pain when you have intercourse, pain in your pelvic floor area. This is not normal. Yeah. So I would say definitely go and check. And as a summary, what you can do, a big one that I am doing now very much is manage your nervous system and set up create a ground to heal. Because again, if we are stressed, we cannot heal. So again, the stress is very much everywhere in our body, but very much in the pelvic area, So when you are stressed, you probably feel your jaw like that, your butt very tight. And this has, like the jaw is linked to the pelvic floor area. So again, if you have a very, very tight jaw, then you need to know you need to relax. And I worked a lot, now also as a breathwork facilitator, I work a lot on regulating the nervous system. So this is one thing. One tip to really try to relax. Look at your nutrition, because I just come back from Christmas where I've not been able to follow my diet the way it was. And this is crazy. I was very symptomatic. I come home 2 days later, back to my diet. I'm fine. Yeah. So look into your nutrition. I would say, nothing new. Ditch the sugar, the processed food, eat real food, lots of fiber, lots of water in order to not be constipated. Work with your microbiome, your gut, it's all linked as well. And the third one will be right movement. Relax, muscle relaxation as much as muscle strength. Core strength.
Mm-hmm. On that last one, we kind of go back to so many people are unaware of that area. I'm wondering, my first thought was, well, yes, why don't you go do some Kegels so you can start thinking of that. But it seems to me like that's the wrong way to go. Like, how do you get a person who's not aware of that area of their body start to be aware of it?
I don't know. You as a professional. No, I would say maybe, a little bit more, I would say, I would call that advanced Kegel. So really to say you need to kind of lift. And what they did with me at the time when I really didn't know what it was and where it was and how to connect is very to imagine it. It's like really create a connection with your brain to this, even if you don't feel it. So yeah, probably advanced Kegel to just try to imagine the pelvic floor going up and down when you lift it. So
I just got where I got that. I have an exercise I teach people that I call it the power Kegel, where they're standing I tell them to imagine they're taking a charcoal briquette and they're squeezing their sphincter to turn into a diamond while they
Yeah,
suck their belly button towards their head,
yeah.
and they hold that for 30 seconds.
Yeah, and my yoga teacher was saying, imagine also in the front to do that with a strawberry or raspberry, sorry, a raspberry, and try to just pick up a raspberry
Huh.
with, and not smash it. So you have to be extremely gentle, because this is also, I think, the problem with the Kegel is like everybody goes just like, okay, I need to do it. So it's like,
Yeah.
where it has to be super, super soft. So it was like, just pick up the raspberry and then lift it up and then let it go very slowly. Yeah. And then she just do like, she do like the
That's a
raspberry
really
and then
interesting imagery.
yeah.
I can
Yeah,
get that.
and try not to mash it in a jam.
That is a really, I can get that. Huh.
Mm.
Cool.
And I think this is the right way to just make people connecting to this to the pelvic floor. Or
Yeah.
maybe I'm thinking about, like, is it like with when you sit down and you have a ball in between your legs and then you press the ball? I think you can feel your pelvic floor quite a bit, but I think the best is probably what you were saying, the power Kegel done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Huh. Cool. Well, very good.
Yeah.
So obviously you work on virtual with people, because that's kind of one of the new ways we can expand our reach with people. So where can people find you?
So I am on Instagram, and my handle is at rock with your pop. And pop means pelvic organ prolapse. So for the people who have a prolapse, they know that pop is so you can, and for me it's like, exactly, we need to rock with it. So it's called Rock with Your Pop, or you can go on Facebook and Benedicte Siva, under my profile, Benedicte Siva.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, any last parting words of wisdom for us today?
Prolapse is not a great thing to have, but it's not life-threatening, but it's something you can live with it with feeling strong and confident. I think if you can really like feel empowered, don't feel completely down with it, because I think lots of people, what I see is even their mental health are first hit with that, saying like, how can I get back to my life? I will never have the life I had before. This is terrible. And there is a lot of, shame or, difficult conversation maybe to have with your partner and things like that. So there is definitely a way to feel empowered with it, and lots of things people can do.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, thank you for taking your time on this Tuesday afternoon for you, Tuesday morning for me, and great talking with you. We'll talk soon.
Thank you very much.